What do you think you guys need to do better this time around against Arizona? I know that's not till
Yeah, that's a
the
hard one for
weekend.
me because I'm not. I haven't even looked at that tape. Our whole focus is Arizona State, so I can't even. I'd struggle getting to even players on Arizona right now because my mind's so Arizona State. So you can ask me that Friday.
How about Arizona State? What are you looking
Well,
at?
we did a really good job to start the game. We shot the ball extremely well, which this team does more times than not, and we jumped out quick. And then I thought defensively we had a lot of breakdowns, and they cut a 20-point lead to 6 to start the second half. And then I thought we cranked it up again, and that was kind of what we've done most of the year until we got to February. Since February, our guys have been much more consistent in what they've done defensively, and that's what you're going to have to do now down the stretch, whether it's these last 2 road games or it's into March, Pac-12 tournament neutral site, NCAA tournament neutral site. You got to be consistent with what you're doing, and that's really been our theme since start of February is be consistent, keep growing. We can't have that dip. We can't be a roller coaster now. We got to. Doesn't mean we're going to just win every game. I'm not saying that, but it does mean we got to be consistent with how we play at both ends.
You
What
got
is your team doing defensively better in the last
I think
five
they're more
games?
engaged. I think it took losing to Arizona at home and SC on the road. They're just more engaged. We got their attention much more. We were 18, 19, and 1 with one loss being a last second, basically fadeaway from about 26 feet. So you still, as good a guys they are, and they're high character guys, they're still in their back. Okay, coach, yeah, well, we're 19 and 1. Right? We get the defensive part. But then once we got beat 2 games in a row, I think that really we got their attention to where now they're doing the things in practice each day and they're really concentrating on how they can get better. And we've made some subtle changes, but it's really been the players that are just more engaged at that end, and it's meaning more. And I think we've been able to show them on film what we look like when we get stops. Because when we get stops, wow, I mean, this team is at a whole nother level. I mean, we're so good in transition but it's hard to run in transition if you're taking a ball out of bounds. And we've been talking about that, and yet, the team's mindset is, well, we're still scoring in the 90s. So the offense hasn't changed. That efficiency's been the same, but our defensive efficiency in February has been 96, and we haven't been there all year. So we're trending the right way. We just got to make sure we continue to work that way.
You guys have held steady in the latest bracket projections. I don't know how much you care or look at that. But does that make sense to you? And you guys are being tabbed as a number 4 seed still, even though you're number 5 in the nation. You beat Oregon, Kentucky. You only have 3 losses. You don't have a single bad loss.
Right.
And your resume stacks up favorably with a lot of these teams ahead of you. How does
It's odd. I mean, that part's odd, but we don't control that, and there's still a lot of games to be played, and we've got 4 regular season games left, and potentially 3 in the conference tournament if we'd be fortunate enough to advance. So we have plenty of time to continue to work towards just being a better basketball team. But regardless of where we're seated, we know it's a national tournament, and teams are going to be very good and very hungry. The men's tournament now, the parity is unbelievable. So you got to be playing good basketball. So we're not really, we haven't talked about it. I've never heard one of our players say, well, I hope we can get to a 3 seed or a 2 seed, or I never even heard him say we're a 4 seed. I don't think that matters to him. I know it doesn't really matter to us as coaches. It's how are we playing? The biggest question is when we're done with the Pac-12 tournament, how does this team look? And if we can stay healthy and take the next, 3 weeks, and we got 3 weeks here to get better before the national tournament. If that happens, then we're going to be pretty excited going into the national tournament.
do you think that, I mean, you never know how non-conference teams are going to fare till the season plays out, but Michigan's had a little bit of a down year. Ohio State has. Do you think maybe that and some of the other teams you played in non-conference has hurt you as far as the analytics of RPI and stuff like that?
Yeah, that's hard to say. I think also, what your league does, non-conference as well. That has an impact too. What your league has done, non-conference. Michigan's now actually on an upswing. Looks like they could potentially make the tournament now because they're playing well. Ohio State hasn't, but Michigan has. But Texas A&M's had a tough go. Nebraska's had a tough go. Kentucky's still, a top 10, top 15 team that we won on their floor. So we know we scheduled very well and we played very good teams. You just can't control what they do, and you can't control what your other league teams do. And truth be told, we didn't get a lot of big wins non-league within our league like we did a year ago. So we've had everybody in our league has had to make that up here in league play. And right now there's been a separation. We got to continue to be a part of that separation of the Arizona, Oregon, UCLA, and hopefully we can sustain that.
There was an interesting prop bet that came out today for the NCAA tournament. Who has better hair, you or Jay Wright?
Yeah, I mean, I get critiqued. I get critiqued a lot of different ways, so might as well be that too.
You talked some about the guys being soft-spoken, and that being unique, that there's this many guys that are soft-spoken on the
Right.
team. Does that help you guys in that you don't have a lot of big personalities that could maybe clash?
Yeah, we don't have a lot of big personalities or egos. It's a humble group, and so we've talked about being humble, being hungry. Be humble, stay hungry, and we've talked about that all the time. And it's just their character. They're just great guys. I've said that all along. They're really good guys, but that doesn't mean, somebody said something about it in the press conference the other day about, Bryce got this look. He got a snarl on his face. Well, it doesn't make you a bad guy if you snarl. I hope I'm a pretty good guy, but I'll break a clipboard every now and then. So I just want a little bit more fire, and I'm seeing that, and we're talking more. It is a group that it's subtle, but they are starting to talk more at the defensive end, and that's going to be huge for us going forward.
When you see what Bryce does emotionally on the court to help fire the team up, and maybe you see a guy like Alonzo Trier or Dylan Brooks, does that really galvanize the team if they do have someone who's emotional like that?
Well, I think it just helps. You don't want the emotion to get carried away or how it affects how you play. But if you have emotion and continue to play at a high level, I think that's constructive emotion. So we need more of that. Tom showed it in the last game. It's EK can show that sometimes with his plays around the rim, and so we just need more of that. I'm not saying go crazy here, but more than anything, I'm not so worried about whether we make a three or get a dunk as much as I am. We got active hands, we're talking defensively, and we're helping each other get through screens and do the things that we have to do. That's where our talking can really help us.
You see